Clearly, this mold's got better things to do tonight than die. Ba weep grana weep ninibang YouTube, Red, White, and Blue Streak here coming at you in 60 frames per second to take a look at Studio Series 86 Sprint. Well, at least now I can do a proper comparison between the two molds, considering I got rid of my original Siege Springer long ago. After we do some vigorous sanitization. Got no idea where that's been. It's no secret to the initiated that this figure is just a heavy remold of the original Voyager Siege figure with a leader class price point, justified by the amount of accessories, which we'll get to later. Before that, I used a couple buzzwords there that I should probably elaborate on. Voyager and leader class are two categories that refer to the size of a Transformers figure in mainline. Or at least, they used to. Nowadays, it just seems to be a label for the amount of accessories that it's going to come with and the price point of the figure. There are technically 8 different size classes. Legion class, which hasn't really been used in years. Legend scale / core class, my bread and butter. Deluxe class, Voyager class, Leader class, Commander class, Titan class, and Masterpiece. Each class has varying price points depending on the conditions of the economy, and due to the shift in focus from classes based on scale to classes based on price point and accessories, there's been a lot of discourse over certain releases, Bumblebee and Springer included. I still remember when Earthrise Cliffjumper released and people complained about having to spend $20 on what is essentially a Legends class figure. And yeah, I would complain, but yeah, I ain't got room to complain. But I do get the discourse when it comes to releases like this one. When a figure goes from being $35 to almost twice the cost, there's bound to be some debate on if it's worth the price as well as the effect on the consumer and how they'll feel knowing their current figure is essentially obsolete. Added to the growing list of controversies for Transformers figure collecting. It's a pretty long list now. And yeah, I'll admit that if I had my original Siege Springer, I'd be feeling a type of way about this. I mean, there are some clear improvements here. The head is slightly remolded to be more movie accurate, the colors have been tweaked to the 9s for maximum screen accuracy, the chest has been heavily remolded to reflect the movie model, he has new articulation in the form of opening hands at the cost of his head articulation, the shoulders are different, the backpack is different, he just looks like he's him now, and he doesn't have that nasty battle damage that no one liked anymore. Seriously, people used to buy nail polish remover just to remove the battle damage. And honestly, I might be doing the same here. And above all else, he's outnumbered! It's really nice that they included this little addition, but I kind of wish it was better executed. In order to get it in the proper orientation, you have to rotate the arm at an awkward angle, and when you do, the gun hardly comes out of the forearm anyways, so there really wasn't much of a point. But it is appreciated nonetheless. Obviously, the robot mode is a huge improvement, but it doesn't quite justify the price hike. That's where his iconic hammer comes in. Hasbro, be honest, does he really need all of this? Don't answer that, the answer is no, and I'll tell you why. Not only does he come with accessories he's known for and absolutely needed, such as the propeller, which is no longer 2 separate pieces unlike Siege, as well as his gun and the I've got better things to do tonight than die missile barrage missile from the movie. Okay, so as I'm recording this, I noticed that apparently this missile has a little tab on the underside. Like I was wondering what the application of it is, because, like, you know, there's no tabs on the inside of the hands or anything. But hold on, let me. Why? Why? But he also comes with his siege guns and his iconic hammer. I'm not sure how much or how little impact these dinky little siege guns or the hammer had on the price, but we really didn't need them here. To be honest, I'm sure we'd be fine with just the gun, the sword, and the propeller, which also didn't have to transform into a sword if I'm being honest. If they just gave us that, I'm sure the price would have been similar to what we had back when he was released in Siege. And there was even mention that the amount of accessories was what caused the price hike in the first place. But you know, at least Siege Springer can now have 2 oversized rifles.
Give me strength! Dual wield!
I swear, every time I talk about accessories inflating the price, I understand how Jobby felt when he talked about MP44. Fun! If you have the Siege Springer figure, you're really not missing much in terms of articulation. Studio Series 86 Springer does what Studio Series 86 Starscream does compared to Earthrise Starscream. That being that it adds hand articulation and nothing else. If anything, besides the hands, it takes away a bit. Like I mentioned earlier, Springer can look up and down about as much as Michael Keaton in Batman. Once again, I'd be willing to sacrifice a bit of the back of the head for a bit of up and down motion. But in all honesty, I'm sure there'd be ways to have the best of both worlds here. Regardless, you can get just about any pose you want from this figure that doesn't involve him looking up or down. I mean, I shouldn't be impressed by this, right? This isn't too different from Siege, so this isn't really anything new, right? Well, those small changes make a world of difference for how these alt modes look for some reason. I think it's mainly the shade of green. Needless to say, the car mode looks great. It's nothing groundbreaking and it's not entirely screen accurate from what I can tell, but John Hasbro did a really good job sprucing up the old Siege mold into something somehow greater. It rolls very nicely and somehow just feels right in a way that the Siege mold somehow doesn't, in my opinion. But as many Transformers fans know, as well as anyone that looked at the big silver badge on the box, this isn't all this figure has to offer.
Helicopter, helicopter.
Yup, as Studio Series' first triple changer, at least as far as I can tell, Springer also comes packed with a helicopter mode. The journey to get here from either robot or car mode isn't the most enjoyable, unlike with the Siege mold, not gonna lie, but the result is a mode that I kind of like more than the car and robot modes, believe it or not. To me, it almost feels as though they designed the figure with the helicopter mode in mind more than the other modes. And the same can be said for the Siege mold, in case anyone was wondering. Something about this just hits right. And of course, I think he looks better than Siege. Insert the picture of the attack helicopters flying at each other here. Honestly, maybe it's because of seeing more of Springer in the new Void Rivals comics, but I seriously love this leaps and bounds more than Siege Springer. And I love Siege Springer. All in all, the figure is fantastic, but is it worth the price hike? Well, from a purely design and aesthetic standpoint, as someone who wasn't a huge fan of the Siege scuffed paint job, yes, I think this figure is better. The paint job is a lot nicer and easier on the eyes, which is funny because at the time, Siege Springer looked absolutely stunning to me outside of the battle damage. On that point, the face is a lot nicer too, with a much more distinguishable paint job compared to the now washed out looking paint of Siege. And the subtle aesthetic changes to the mold, such as the angled chest and the shoulder pauldrons, and the extra backpack bits, also just make this figure feel a bit more premium for some reason. The only thing that gives me pause on recommending this over Siege Springer is the accessory price hike. Since the reveal and release of 86 Springer, Siege Springer has returned to retail price online, which is really nice, but it just highlights the core issues with this figure as well as the other modern day leader class figures, 86 Starscream included. It's a Voyager class figure with a ton of accessories, some of which are completely unnecessary at twice the price it would be otherwise. If it weren't for that and the frankly horrible distribution, this would be an easy sell, a solid replacement or stand-in for Siege Springer. The core figure itself is an upgrade for sure, so I'd give it a 4 out of 5 overall, but with the accessory price hike feeling unnecessary and unavoidable, I feel a 3 out of 5 is a bit more appropriate. If you're seriously against the Siege aesthetic or can't stand how this figure looks compared to 86, then yeah, sure, get the upgraded figure. But otherwise, I can assure you that Siege Springer will hold up just fine and is a nice stand-in, and you could probably 3D print the accessories that you're missing out on. Hey guys, I got Studio Series 86 Optimus. Oh,